As I've said from the beginning, ours was not a campaign, but rather an incredible and great movement.
Donald Trump, a man with no previous government or military experience, elected president and commander-in-chief.
Not my president, not today!
Protests around the country from those who say he's not their president, and a meeting at the White House to begin the handover of power. While back in Arizona, for the first time in 23 years, Joe Arapio will not be the sheriff. Plus, more states say yes to marijuana. Across the country, an election full of change here on Politics Unplugged.
And good evening, I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. And we start tonight with a major change right here in Arizona. Paul Penzone has done for years others have tried and haven't been able to do, and that is defeat Sheriff Joe Arapio. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations on your big victory. And I'd like to hear from you, your version. Why did it happen? How were you able to do it and do it so convincingly? 10, 11-point spread right now.
Well, I think it's a multitude of factors, and I mean, ultimately the voters decide. But I think we had seen over time just things that did not truly represent law enforcement and safety needs in our community, the costs, the civil rights violations, things of that nature. And at the same time, I'd like to think that my background and my opportunity to get in front of voters of all different, whether it be Democrat, Republican, Independent, all different backgrounds politically, earn respect and trust that I'm serious about law enforcement.
And now, I mean, you've had a few days to digest this victory, and now a lot of people are wondering where the office is going to be moving forward from here. We've heard a lot, over the years, we've seen a lot of lawsuits, a lot of payouts from the Sheriff's Department, estimates of over $100,000 or $100 million in lawsuit payouts. Are you going to be doing some sort of forensic financial audit of the office, and will you make that the findings of that public?
Absolutely, and not only that, but we have to audit every element of it, which means everything from property to evidence to all aspects to ensure that when I take over, that we know we're starting with a clean slate where everything is transparent, not only for myself as the leader of that organization, but for the community whose organization it really is. The Sheriff's Office belongs to the community, so we need to know that there's complete transparency and where our starting point is so that we can have measurables going forward on how we're accomplishing it and moving into a direction where we've taken politics out and we focus solely on public safety.
Excellent, excellent. So you will make those findings public. You'll make it available to us here in the media as well.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Now moving forward too, a lot of people wondering who you're going to pick as your chief deputy. I've seen previous interviews. You said you felt like you've been running for 4 years now. You've had a lot of time to think about this. Obviously, you have to have some people in mind.
Yeah, I absolutely have had people in mind, as well as those that are in the organization. I owe it to them to make sure that I understand the skill sets of those in place and their intentions, as well as I expect there's probably going to be some folks that have planned on retirement, have retirements pending, and it would be naive and dishonest for anyone to expect or for me to say that I don't have a few people that I know and trust with law enforcement backgrounds that I want to incorporate and mesh within the team. As an individual going to a big organization like that, there has to be some balance, and these aren't new decisions for me. They're people I've known and trusted for some time, but right now I'm not ready to disclose that, but I'm sure that once we get to that point, people will feel the utmost confidence in those that will be a part of coming in with me.
Sure. Now let's talk a little bit about the culture of the office. He's been there, it will be 24 years when he leaves office. Many people, almost all of them, probably have never worked under a sheriff other than Mr. Arapio. You're coming in, you've got a major culture change that you're going to implement, because you have been very critical of this office. How are you going to get that done?
Well, it is much like I spoke of earlier. I want to have an environment where we're working collectively, because my job as a leader of an organization is to facilitate success on behalf of those who do the job. So the men and women doing the job, they need to know they have leadership that is invested in them so that they can be exceptional at what they do, because if they're successful and morale is enhanced and they have great opportunities and their voices are heard to be a part of creating a new positive culture and solving some of those problems, then the service that they do on behalf of this community will improve, because they go to work with that confidence and strength, knowing that we are one organization who serves others and not an organization who serves the person at the top.
And a lot of people that will be working underneath you are probably wondering about raises. We know that the jail detention officers were supposed to get a raise this year. The Sheriff's Department decided to use that money instead to deal with these ongoing costs related to that racial profiling case. I'll ask you right now, some of them are probably watching. They're going to get that raise.
Well, my hope is this. We have to eliminate waste, and I have to make some evaluations first. But I absolutely want to see the opportunity to make sure that those rates and those wages are competitive. Competitive from the aspect that those working in the job feel that they're fairly compensated, but at the same time so that we can entice talented people who want to go into law enforcement to choose the sheriff's office over other agencies because they know they're going to be paid a fair and aggressive wage where their sacrifice is rewarded. So I can't make that promise until I see the budgetary issues and we make some decisions. But my goal is to, yes, get back to a place where they are rewarded for the sacrifice and the hard work that they do.
It's going to cost about $8 million to run Tent City next year by most estimates. You could shut that down and save some of that money, right?
Yeah, it can be done, and that's going to be something that we'll give hard consideration and evaluation to. There's a lot of folks who are fans of it. There are a lot of folks who oppose it. At the end of the day, the decision has to be, how does it serve our community? Is it needed? Is it efficient? And does it really promote safety for the detention officers and others like we've spoken about before? I'm going to give it a hard look, and we'll make the right decision at the time.
Yeah, you have been saying that you're going to give it a hard look. Is it all dollars and cents, or are there other factors at play here? Because a lot of people have criticized Tent City for being a place where there's human rights abuses. International organizations have come down. There's got to be more than dollars and cents.
We're better than that as a nation. We can't have a situation where we incarcerate people and we abuse them in some fashion. That's not who we are. So that element has to be eliminated regardless if Tent City is kept. If it turns out that Tent City truly doesn't provide the productivity that has been alleged for years, then we want to have safe, sound detention centers where keep repeating it. Detention officers are in an environment where they're safer, therefore they can do a better job of keeping inmates safe.
Ask you another controversial issue there, the birther investigation.
I don't think anything we've gone past isn't controversial yet, so you don't even have to preface it anymore.
So the birther issue. Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, we've seen that some taxpayer dollars have been expended by Mr. Arapio to investigate the birth certificate of President Barack Obama. When you take over, is that going to continue? Because he has said recently in depositions that he is still doing this.
And no, it's not going to continue, and let's be honest, it's gone on for 4 or 5 years, however long now, or longer. It's nonsense. And in regards of the dollars that have been spent, there have been resources wasted on that. Those resources and those dollars should be focused on crimes within our community, primarily crimes where our children are affected, and whatever we do with any resources or dollars in that organization should be to the benefit of safety within this community.
All right, and one other thing there about the operational aspects of the office. I mean, are you going to have to get rid of a lot of top people? Or are you planning to keep them?
No, again, that's a situation where I want to treat others as I would hope to be treated, which is, you've been in this organization for a long time, you've worked hard. If you deserve the position that you're in and you're willing to go forward with me to be a problem-solving organization that focuses on law enforcement and not politics, then that'll always be a place. But if you're in conflict with my values as a leader and the culture that I like to create, then there will be some challenges and we'll make decisions appropriately. But I want people to have the chance to say, hey, you know what, I want to fix this place with the things that we feel are failing or falling short. I want to be a part of the process because now we have a new opportunity with someone who is open to hearing creative ideas and best practices to be implemented. I make the final decisions because my responsibility, I own that. But I want those who are talented and exceptional and have new ideas and can teach me things in ways to get consideration before those decisions are made.
Now, President-elect Donald Trump has said, I'm still getting used to saying President-elect Donald Trump, has said that he's going to begin deporting illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds. Sheriff Joe Arapio has said repeatedly that he has got a lot of people who fit that description in his jail. How do you go about dealing with that, and how do you go about dealing with handing them over to federal authorities?
We have to abide by the law. We have to be responsible in how we go about our business. Where we differ, from the predecessor myself, is the tactics that he took to target aspects of our community, violate civil rights, and racially profile. Those things can't be tolerated. But when we have people who have committed crimes and pose a threat to our community, then we need to be in partnership with the federal government relative to those that have lost the privilege to be here, visit here because of those crimes, especially crimes of violence. Those are violations to the safety of our families, and I just think that in and of itself means that you've lost the privilege to be here.
So, we've talked about Tent City. There's a lot of other signature kind of policy programs from the current sheriff. What other ones are you planning to change or get rid of? We're talking about like chain gangs or pink underwear or the green baloney.
Yeah, I like the chain gang if it's used for the benefit of communities where they're challenged and don't have resources to go clean up a park in a tough part of town where maybe there's graffiti and other things like that. As long as those inmates are, we're confident they're safe on the streets and are providing a service. So that's a good thing. The policy is an exceptional tool. I just don't think that it's been utilized to its capacity. So I want to increase that. I want it to be more diverse and more broad across the spectrum of our county. And I want them to be certified in training programs that enhance safety, where they can go and train on our behalf, families and others. The pink underwear, the pink handcuffs, the green bologna, anything that has a color attached to it and it's from Dr. Seuss, I'm not so sure it has great value. Those are decisions that should be made because they are cost savings for the taxpayers, and then they provide the resources necessary within the organization, not because you're attached to a brand or something.
And one last question before we have to break. But
you could have practiced Mom when I said Dr. Seuss. I don't know why you didn't find it as funny as I did when I delivered that line.
Well, okay.
I'll try better next time.
Maybe I get
keep with my day job.
Sense of humor.
And now that I have a day job, I'll stick with it. Okay.
Well, and one last question, though. Are you at all concerned about being able to find enough people who know the ins and outs of that department to come in and help you run it right away? Because, again, 24 years he's been in office.
But I appreciate that question. Not at all, first of all, because the men and women of the organization, there are so many talented people. And I've spoken with them, and I know a lot of them personally, and they're excited about this chance. In the past, they had an organization that was running one particular lane and direction, and they wanted to get outside of that lane, but they weren't capable of doing that. So I'm excited about working with them, again, because it has been their organization for so many years now. I'm becoming a part of it, and at the same time, then incorporating and infusing, which means meshing it, not eliminating people in order to bring people in, meshing that so that collectively we improve. But I'm not worried about talent in that organization. There's plenty of talent.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for stopping by, but we do have to take a break. But we have lots more to come on Politics Unplugged. Coming up next.
I very much look forward to dealing with the president in the future, including counsel.
He questioned his citizenship and his leadership, but now Donald Trump changes his tone about President Obama. Just ahead, the president-elect sounding presidential?
Mistake. The voters deserve something better. And if you've been doing this job for 27 years and you still can't get it right, the voters deserve something better.
And as we wait for a final count, it appears the voters have had enough of County Recorder Helen Purcell. A look at the race that could end a nearly 30-year career. Still ahead.
It brings animated characters to life in Hollywood. Now it's helping to heal young bodies in the Valley.
That lets us visualize what we can't see.
From cerebral palsy to sports injuries, see the future of recovery inside the Motion Lab. Tuesday at 9. 20 surprises.
Seriously? Oh my gosh.
In 20 days.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
All this month. The Arizona Family's Surprise Squad is bringing the joy. 20 surprises in 20 days on Good Morning Arizona.
Save up to 80%. The Jewelry Exchange has stackable diamond bands for $99, 1-carat halo rings $9.90, 1.5-carat 3-stone rings just $19.90, and 1-carat studs $5.99. Buy factory direct and save. The Jewelry Exchange in Phoenix.
Today, Cox has internet so fast it can power whatever amazing tech the future dreams up. 100 times more powerful Gigablast internet is here. Bring on tomorrow.
See Cirque du Soleil in a stunning new light in this visually breathtaking odyssey inspired by James Cameron's Avatar. Experience a live storytelling journey through a new world of imagination, discovery, and endless possibilities. Toruk, the First Flight, presented by Visa Signature, playing November 16th to 20th at the Talking Stick Resort Arena. Tickets on sale now at CirqueDuSoleil.com.
On Tuesday, I buried my dentures under 23 tons of cement. And I really freaked out because I needed my mouth for a very important event. So I called Aspen Dental, got in right away, and they made my new choppers in just a few days. And thanks to that service, I'm happy to say I ate the most hot dogs in history today.
With dentures starting at just $3.99 and ready in days, not weeks. Dentistry's never been easier. Call 1-800-ASPEN-DENTAL.
Sign up for 3TV's email newsletter and you could score $150. That's right, $150 just for signing up. And you'll be entered to win $100 every month after that. Get all the latest Valley news and a chance to win free money. Go to azfamily.com/email.
Welcome back to Politics Unplugged. We're here to talk it out with our partners from First Strategic, and with us today is Steve Roman and Kurt Davis. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us here. And let's just start with Donald Trump. You know, it's no longer a question of if he can be elected. He has been elected. And Kurt, how do you do it? You were saying right before the show that you kind of predicted this.
Well, we were playing around with Electoral College and kept coming up with a tie or, you know, within a few electoral votes. The election was clearly shifting in the last 8-9 days. And it shifted in his favor, and it was a repressed turnout nationally, and in a repressed turnout, you don't know what's going to happen.
And was it a matter of Trump winning or Hillary losing it?
Oh, I think it was very much a combination of both. I think Hillary ran an awful campaign, but I tell you, the best description that I heard of why Trump won is that the media took him literally, but never took him seriously, and his supporters took him seriously but never took him literally. And you put that together and you take a look at all of that, and in effect that's what turned out why you had a lot of people who voted for Barack Obama in the blue wall that turned around and voted for Trump this time.
Yeah, and you know, already within a couple of days of that election, we're hearing the Donald Trump sounding a little bit more humble. Some are saying a little more presidential. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division, have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people.
Well, you hear him talking about unity. Can he do it? Can he bring people together?
Sure.
We've already seen people, protesters out in the street.
No, but look, campaigns are one thing, governing is another, and he is shifting into now governing. And rhetoric changes when you're governing versus when you're running. He's not a dumb man, okay? This guy pulled off a presidential race. He has a successful business career. He will do what is necessary to try to be an effective
Sure, campaigns president. May be one thing and governing is a whole other thing, but this was a campaign unlike any other.
Look, he deserves the benefit of the doubt on one hand, but words matter on the other, and therefore you understand the frustration from the other side, but that opposes him. But the other side has to realize he won, and he's going to be around for at least 4 years.
But he didn't win the popular vote.
Doesn't make any difference.
I mean,
we have a system.
In the minds of the protesters, they're not even accepting.
Clearly, they don't understand our Constitution, and clearly, because if it was just a popular vote, you run a whole different kind of campaign. We still don't know what that outcome would be. He ran an electoral college campaign, and he won.
Yeah, so how is he going to stop that? I mean, look at the, you can see it on our screens right here. How does he bring these people together?
He has to do what I think he is doing. You know, actions speak louder than words. If you take a look at what he has said in the last 3 days since he has won, or 4 or 5 days since he has won, he's said the right things. He hasn't been hostile in any way. That's not to say that he's not going to be a counterpuncher like he says he always is, but right now he's not being punched and he's doing the right things. And I believe that the other side, the people that are very upset, they need to sit back and take a deep breath and say what's best for the country. And rioting or protesting, being vigilant is one thing.
All right.
Protesting is another.
All right, now let's take a listen to this clip here when Mr. Trump went to the White House to meet President Obama. Now, this was their first face-to-face meeting ever. Here's what they had to say, and here's what that looked like.
This was a meeting that was going to last for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and we were just going to get to know each other. We had never met each other. I have great respect. The meeting lasted for almost an hour and a half. And it could have, as far as I'm concerned, it could have gone on for a lot longer.
We now are going to want to do everything we can to help you succeed, because if you succeed, then the country succeeds.
I mean, is this just talk? Is Mr. Trump really going to be reaching out to President Obama in the future for his counsel? The same man who questioned Obama's legitimacy of being a president.
Think about how many presidents become friends after the race.
This is different, though.
It's not. It really isn't, Dennis, because when the one thing these two gentlemen now have in common, and Mr. Trump hasn't had it yet, but he will on January 20th, is the weight of the presidency. And there's something that connects people that have actually held that office or will hold that office. and it changes the relationship.
Well, I get there's a difference there, but not only the birther stuff out there that that Mr. Trump was engaged in, but he also accused Obama of being a founder of ISIS, amongst other things. These were very personal attacks, and you guys are acting like it didn't happen. You were acting like it didn't happen. These were very personal attacks.
Yes, they were.
Unlike anything we've ever seen.
Guess what? They're getting over it a lot easier, it seems to be, than you are and some of his supporters, which is exactly the point. Statesmen learn that they have to get over those kinds of things.
Donald Trump, you believe, is a statesman.
I believe that he is the President of the United States. That, by definition, he is the United States' most important statesman. But here's another thing.
They both got elected as change candidates. Both of them. They share that together. And there's things that bind people that have to have the same experience.
What's already being reported right now. Supposedly in their meeting there was discussions about Obamacare, and that supposedly, according to some reports, President-elect Trump has said, I may take some of those things and keep some of those Obamacare things, like I want to make sure that people can go in without any illnesses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's actually, I believe, putting out an olive branch to some small degree.
So speaking of olive branches, I mean, how important is his relationship going to be with some members of Congress, particularly the Republican leaders like Paul Ryan, who he was highly critical of?
I think this is where you're actually going to see maybe the most powerful vice president in our nation's history, because I believe that a President Trump will probably rely a lot on a Vice President Pence. He already took him with him up to the Hill. That's going to demonstrate that he will probably be playing a very active role because he is highly regarded on the Hill. And if he does that, that's actually a very smart move. And I think, you know, again, the world Donald Trump comes from is use your people in the best way to benefit the enterprise.
Well, we've already seen some big splits between Pence and Trump on the campaign trail. I mean, are we going to see that moving forward?
Oh, I doubt if you're going to see too many splits between the President and the Vice President of the United States.
But they'll happen.
But by definition, I think those will be behind the scenes. Whether we will see them is a whole other issue.
All right. Got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back because we have more to talk about here on Politics Unplugged. Arizona voters say no. Others say yes. A look at what comes next in the battle to legalize marijuana here on Politics Unplugged.
I thought he'd never leave.
Why are you texting my man at 2 a.m.?
If you want someone to leave you alone, you pretend like you're sleeping. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
Taking selfies in the kitchen does not make you a model. Okay.
Thunder Dan Marley for Emergency Chiropractic. In sports, everybody talks about the MVP, or most valuable player. But at Emergency Chiropractic, if you've been injured in an auto accident, our top-notch team will treat you as our most valuable patient. Our doctors and staff will treat you with no deductibles, no copays, and no out-of-pocket costs. Don't suffer. The Emergency Chiropractic team will get you back in the game.
Emergency Chiropractic, the kind of care you want today.
Buckle up.
Now, how's that thing supposed to convince anyone to buy a car?
It's just full of hot air and doesn't say much.
Like the labels you see on a lot of chicken packaging.
The ones that say raised without antibiotics. That's just a trick to get you to pay more money.
Fact is, by federal law, all chickens must be clear of antibiotics before they leave the farm.
It's a marketing gimmick, like Mr. Floppy Arms here. Though I must say, he is somewhat hypnotic.
Don't fall for the hype, Dale. Dale?
Fresh, delicious chicken from Sanderson Farms. Everything you need to know about life, you can learn from granola. Keep it simple. Make every piece count. Let other people know what you're made of. Always be real. Don't be fake. Don't be artificial. But always be sweet. And of course, wear sunscreen. Nature Valley granola bars. No artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. Just good.
Don't
let the anxiety of shopping for new flooring gobble up your holiday spirit.
Call your local flooring experts, Express Flooring, and get installation before Thanksgiving, or it's free.
Fast, free in-home shopping and a feast of savings up to 66.5% on carpet, tile, laminate, wood, or vinyl plank.
And for a limited time with your signed contract, Express will have it installed by Thanksgiving, or it's free.
Call today.
Express Flooring is the best. Call 800-EXPRESS.
Welcome back to Politics Unplugged. It's time to talk it out with our partners from First Strategic. Again, with us is Kurt Davis and Steve Roman joining us for yet another segment here. And let's talk a little bit about the county recorder's race. Helen Purcell, she's been in office for nearly 30 years right now. Challenger Democrat Adrian Fontes is extending his lead over her. What's behind this?
I think it goes back to the presidential primary, and you have voters. There was a lingering hangover, and she's taking the blame for that. And it's very unfortunate because for me personally, I think we lost the finest public servant that we may have in all of state government if she has to leave office. Helen's a class act and has done a great job for the taxpayers for, as you mentioned, 30 years. All right, and let's move over to the other big issue here in Arizona. Proposition 205, the initiative that would have legalized recreational marijuana, failed. This comes after several years after voters here approved medical marijuana here. What happened? What was the deciding factor in this race?
Well, I think one of the big factors is that you had a lot of important people, including the governor of our state, who put a lot of effort into defeating it, raised a lot of money. He's raised, if you take a look at what he's done over the past 3 or 4 years, he's raised $13 million for different efforts out there, which shows that he has clout, and he showed his clout on medical marijuana, which was expected in other states to pass, and it went down pretty substantially.
And the voters broke the code, which is this initiative, different from other states, was basically creating a monopoly for the medical marijuana dispensaries to move into the now would have been the legal market. Now, they broke that code.
But now we've seen several other states, including California, with fifth largest economy, sixth largest economy really in the world just by itself, have legalized this stuff. Where do we move from here? Does Donald Trump follow suit and let states just go ahead and do this themselves, especially?
It's a great question. I think there probably is going to be change at the federal level on this issue, irregardless of who was elected. I think there's probably change coming, because now you don't want to have a mixed marketplace, mixed enforcement, mixed tracking, all of those kinds of things. So I think, yeah, I believe actually change is probably coming. And irregardless, this will be coming back to Arizona voters in 2 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it inevitable, though, at some point recreational marijuana is going to be legal in Arizona?
I don't know if, I think in 50 years, who knows? Is it going to come back in the next 2 years or 4 years? Maybe, but there was a lot of money that was spent, and you know, so on both sides, are people ready to ante up again on either side? Well,
Soros will be back.
But we're seeing more and more states do this, and it's getting more and more normalized here. I mean, it seems like this might be inevitable.
It's a lot of it's an age demographic. Arizona has a much older voting base than some of the other states that have passed it. And so as that voting base changes because of the natural thing that happens with age, I think, yes, I wouldn't be shocked. Is it the right thing to do? That's a whole different question.
Will it happen? Criminalize certain things? Can there be other things done with current policies as opposed to changing and legalizing policies? Those are things that I think will be looked at to maybe moderate it as well.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks for joining us this week, and be sure to tune in next week for more Politics Unplugged. Good night.